Gainful employment is really just not for me. What's up? Welcome back to the channel. One of the things that I get asked about a lot is how I started this business and what it's like to be self-employed. I have a lot of friends and we have a lot of conversations about a variety of different topics, but we talk about work a lot. And a lot of my friends are actually gainfully employed. Now, they have real jobs where they have to go to a place and do shit. But one of the things that comes up in conversation is, our jobs or the way we make a living. And a lot of them, because, they have jobs, they're, kind of in a different world than I am. One of the things that they always kind of like to throw out there is that there's nothing wrong with working for the man. And it's almost a little defensive when they say those types of things. The truth of the matter is, I couldn't possibly agree more. The world needs all kinds, including people that are willing to show up, do what's expected, and leave at the end of the day. And businesses need reliable individuals who can capably perform the duties of the job that the business needs them to do. And so, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just not for me. So one of the things that I kind of get asked a lot about is like, what was that aha moment where I just knew that I had to go off and do my own thing? And the truth of the matter is there wasn't. There was never this one moment where a light bulb went off in my head and I'm just like, I can never work again. The last real job I had, in the sense that I was relying on it for income, was back in 2009. I was downsized out of that job through no fault of my own because the economy was terrible. And fortunately, I had a good friend of mine, Pete Brand, who's been on the podcast, who offered me a contract position at his company. I worked there for a while as a contractor, even though I was working out of their office. And it was, for lack of a better expression, a job. Even though I was paid as a 1099 contractor, it was still a similar situation where you show up and do what's expected and leave at the end of the day. And it was great. Pete's company is great. They've been around for 25 years, and they're one of the premier digital marketing agencies here in West Michigan. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that they provided for me and that they took a chance on me when they probably had other options. But as I've talked about before, I started branching out on my own after I'd been at Mindscape for about a year. And one thing led to another, and the side work started to replace the work at Mindscape. And before I knew it, I had enough freelance clients that could replace the income from what I was doing for Pete's company. And so it was about a year after I started working for him that I branched out on my own and started my own freelance business. But even then, there still wasn't really any type of aha moment where this is it and this is just what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. When I got into freelance work, I didn't think that I would do it forever. I figured I would take the path that most freelancers do and get scooped up into a full-time job at some point. And so I worked along for a couple of years and I was fairly successful at it. And sure enough, after I'd been doing that for about 2 or 3 years, my phone started ringing and I started getting job offers. I don't want to imply that my phone was ringing every week, but probably once a quarter, I would get a legitimate offer from a company that had an in-house position that they were looking to fill. But there were really only a couple that were really notable. One was a mid-level management position at a local media company, and the other one was for a company out in San Francisco that had been founded by Neil Patel. I don't think that company's around anymore. They had just received $12 million in VC money, and they had some positions to fill. And I happened to know one of the recruiters because he had ties to Grand Rapids. And so every once in a while, something would come down the pipeline that I would give reasonable consideration to. But by that point, I had clients and team members that were relying on my company to exist. And for that reason, I kind of realized that it would actually be kind of selfish to take a job after everything that I'd built and all of the faith that had been placed in me by the talented people that chose to do work for my company when they had other options. And of course, the clients that hired us and stuck with us when they had the resources to literally hire anybody. And so when I started looking at it from that perspective, I kind of realized that I need to see this through. And we've grown substantially since then. And job offers still do come in from time to time. But in talking with my friends, I often kind of just throw this out there, and I'm not even really trying to be funny, but it always seems to generate a laugh that gainful employment is really just not for me. I like to think in the right set of circumstances, I could take a job with a company if, it was the right offer, the right company, they were doing things the right way, they had their shit together. And, maybe that'll happen someday. I'm not completely opposed to it, but right now with what I'm doing and everything that we have going on, unless they just made an offer that I just couldn't reasonably say no to. And when it comes to running a business, there's plenty of stuff to do. And there's some things that you don't necessarily always want to have to do, but if you don't do them, they're not going to get done, and they have to get done. And so that's kind of the flip side of it. Comes with a lot of freedom, but it comes with a lot of responsibility as well. And so the other side of employment that just never really appealed to me is that it can be taken away at any time. As soon as that company that you're working for decides that they don't need you, or they figure out that they can get 80% of the output for 50% of the salary, and all of a sudden your position is expendable, quite literally nothing you can do to influence that decision. That's the flip side of having a job. They only need you till they don't. And that has never appealed to me. So while if people have jobs and they like having jobs and they like the jobs they're at, hey, good for them. I'm totally happy for you. And I wish everybody could be that happy in employment, even though a lot of people aren't. And trust me, running a business isn't always the picnic that it's cracked up to be. But it can be very rewarding in many ways, not just financially or in terms of freedom. There's a certain satisfaction that comes with knowing that you built this from nothing, from just a guy with a laptop in his basement to an office with a cool bar. And that's part of why I created this channel. So if you're thinking about self-employment or going out on your own or starting an e-commerce store or whatever it is, hey, I would love to answer your questions. Drop me a question in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you think of this video. Hey, what's up? Thanks for checking out my content. If you like this kind of stuff, hey, please do me a favor. Like, subscribe, follow, hey, whatever platform you happen to be on. It really helps us out with the algorithms. Thanks. See you on the next video.